Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about there is nothing wrong with right now. There is a chronic resistance and denial to reality. And in non-duality, there is only the self. What is the self. And so when we are labeling it, judging it to be wrong, we are resisting and denying the self. There's only the self. If we judge what is to be wrong, we are resisting and denying reality itself. And it's this resisting and denying of reality that is the seed for our suffering. It is from which suffering sprouts. And so it is important to, I think, become aware of a resisting and denying, and ideally cease that. And so one of the ways is trying perhaps to cease or let go of the idea of there being something wrong right now. I mean, if you emphatically, confidently say, there is nothing wrong right now, you might feel a little bit of a resistance, an inner no, kind of a shrink, some kind. You might feel something within the body that just doesn't want to accept that, and that is our deeply conditioned parts, the conditioning that actually has ingrained into the body mind to the point where there's a physical response. There's this no, to the idea that there's nothing wrong right now. And we can delve into our own conditioning and our own concepts and beliefs and look at what is causing this resistance and denial of what is, of the self, this insistence on trying to judge things as wrong, shouldn't be. I mean, in non-duality, there's only the self. Whatever is, is. To say it shouldn't be, when it already is a mental judgment and denial. And so I'm saying we got to become more consciously aware of our responses to reality, to the self, and in particular, in context of the subject matter of this episode, become more aware of when we are deeming things wrong in the present, in the here and now. Right now, what is wrong? And if you get very, very present, and there's a silence of thought, you may even see that there particularly isn't anything wrong right now. Not to say that there aren't challenges to the game per se. The game of life, all games are played because there's challenges. But regardless of the difficulty level or the challenge within the game, we never deem it to be wrong, inherently wrong, something that shouldn't be. This idea of wrongness, not only with the world, but even what we think and feel ourselves to be, because many of us in early conditioning, due to parents, elders, whatever, and their way of teaching, have somewhat conditioned the idea that there is something wrong with me. And this feeling of wrongness never leaves. It's always in the background. And so not only can we say the world is wrong, but we could say me is wrong. And there is nothing wrong, nothing inherently wrong. I like that Bodhidharma once said, "Vast emptiness, nothing holy," which also he didn't say outwardly, but also implied nothing unholy either. And so there's nothing inherently holy or unholy. There's nothing inherently wrong. It's our judgments based on our concepts, beliefs, things like that. But it's reality. It's what is. After awakening, after enlightenment, there's no longer this resisting and denying what is. You're not resisting the self. There isn't this struggle and conflict with what is. It's not wrong. If you're driving down the road one day and someone cuts you off and smashes into your car, that's not wrong. If you're walking down the street, someone stops and someone shows up and mugs you, that's not wrong. That you have to give up this idea of inherent wrongness. There's only the self. There's only, think about it in terms of dreaming. I use this analogy all the time, but in a dream, the entirety of the dream is you. It's all arising from one consciousness. And so what was wrong in a dream? If anything is wrong in the dream, you can only say it's wrong with yourself. And again, you're back to there's something wrong with me. But there's nothing wrong with you. It is just the belief and concepts and things that we've acquired, the conditioning that we hold that creates this. And that's why I point to becoming aware of the visceral feeling of, retraction or contraction or sinking, solidifying, I don't know, whatever, however it feels. But you can tell that there is a closure. If you confidently state there is nothing wrong now, and there is some inner there's a conditioning saying no, there's something wrong, and then you got to identify what's wrong. What is it that you're judging is wrong? Is it whoever is the president or leader of the country? Is it whatever? But we judge so many things as wrong, and then as soon as they're judged as wrong, like I said, there's this subtle resistance and denying. But there's only the self. And so it's the self struggling with itself, which helps create the illusion of separation. It is the resistance, is the denial, it is the struggle that fuels this idea of me. And so what would the world be like if you gave up the idea of wrongness, that there's something wrong? Again, there can be challenges. Games are played because there's challenges. Not that you can't act. It's not like we can only act if we see something wrong. Because that obviously isn't true. We do actions in games, and it is not a matter of wrongness, avoiding wrongness. We can just act to see what happens, to progress in the game. And so if you see something, you can act, but you don't have to deem it wrong and that you're trying to correct it. This idea of wrongness is rather ingrained in the, I think, typical human mind. We like to say things are wrong. If you're bullied, they were wrong. If your parents did something to you, they were wrong. If, whatever, all the stuff that happens in life, they were wrong. In a way, it's part of the blaming game. It's just blaming. And there's really no one to blame but the self. There's only self. It's the self that did it. It's the self that received it. And so there is no blame game. And so if you give up wrongness, you also have to give up blame. But what would the world be like if you gave up the idea of wrongness and just accepted it as it is? It's reality. There's nothing wrong right now. Right now is what is. It's reality. It's the self. And it's not other than me. That's what is. And so, something to play with. But anyways, if you got any questions, comments, please post below. But until next time, thank you much.